Good day to you all, my beautiful students. I'm so happy to be here once again, and I know you are happy to see me again from your various home. This is Mrs. Ayewole Alaba Adepeju, your basic science teacher. I hope we are all keeping safe. Please, let's maintain social distance, wear your mask if you must go out, and ensure your hands are sanitized regularly using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer, or preferably wash under running water for at least 20 seconds. Last week, we talked about an interesting topic, which is population. That's our 6th-week topic for the term. Under population, we talked about what population is, which is the number of people or organisms, either plants or animal species, that reside in a particular place at a particular time. We talked about the factors that affect population. We talked about natality, which is death rate, the number of increased number of population due to reproduction. That is when new organisms are being given birth to. We talked about mortality, which is death rate when organisms, especially the ones that are old, died due to competition or lack of food, water, and other social other factors. We talked about immigration, moving from one habitat to a particular habitat, migration to an emigration. These are the 5 factors that affect the population of a particular habitat. We also discussed about how population of a given habitat can be censored. We talked about direct method, which we refer to as census, that is the head count of individuals or species of organisms that reside in a particular habitat at a particular time. And the second one is indirect method. This is done by taking a particular sample out from a population, and this sample will be used to get the overall number of the people of the numbers of organisms that reside in that particular habitat. Also, we talked about using different sampling methods like mark recap method, the contract method, the transact method, and many other methods in which we can actually use to get the number of individuals or organisms, either plant or animal, that reside in a particular habitat at a particular time. Today, we are going to be seeing another topic, that's our 7th topic for this term, which is functioning ecosystem. Our 7th topic for this term is functioning ecosystem. Before we proceed, let's see the learning objective of today's class. The learning objectives of today's class are: each and every one of you should be able to identify the biotic components of an ecosystem. You should also be able to define what trophic level is, and also explain how food web and food chain, that is, what is food web and food chain. And finally, you must be able to explain how energy flows in an ecosystem. Let's move on. What are the components of an ecosystem? For an ecosystem to be a basic functioning unit in nature, there must be biotic components. They are non-living components. These components are composed of autotrophs and heterotrophs. What are autotrophs? Autotrophs are known as producers, that is, the green plants. They are organisms that are able to use sunlight or chemical energy to manufacture their own food from simple inorganic substances. The autotrophs are the only organisms that produce food in an ecosystem, and as such, they are called primary food producers. Primary food producers. Examples of autotrophs include our green plants, photosynthetic protists, and some other bacteria. These and many more are examples of our autotrophs. Let's move on. Now let's come to heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are organisms that cannot manufacture their own food. They depend on ready-made food produced directly or indirectly by autotrophs. That is, they put all their responsibility onto the autotrophs, which manufacture their own food and they can consume from it. They utilize the nutrients and chemical energy stored in the food they feed on for their activities. That is, they will be able to perform their activities when they utilize the food and chemical, the nutrients and chemical stored in the food they consume. That is, the food that are made from autotrophs. That is when they will be able to perform their own activities. Examples of autotrophs are animals, carnivorous plants, fungi, most protists, and bacteria. In an ecosystem, heterotrophs are either consumers or decomposers. Now let's move to trophic level. The step between organisms are called feeding level or trophic level. That is, trophic level means the steps between organisms. The step between organisms means trophic level, or and as well be called feeding level. It is a time when energy and nutrients are transferred step by step among organisms along a feeding pathway in an ecosystem. The starting point is a primary producer. That is where you will see the green plants, which eats up primary consumers, that is, animals, which are eaten up by primary consumers, that is, animals, example, sheep, which ultimately is eaten by a secondary consumer, another animal, e.g. lion. And finally, a decomposer, which converts the remains of the dead substances, which return to the non-living environment. That is, the starting point in the trophic level. The first thing you will see are the green plants, which is eaten up by primary consumers. Example, like I said, a sheep or a goat. Then this sheep or goat is eaten up by a secondary consumer, another animal, example, a lion. And finally, by decomposers, which convert the remains of the dead producer, that is, the lion and the consumer, into simple inorganic substances, which returns to the non-living environment. That is what trophic level is. This is a graphical or a diagram of what a trophic level looks like. Like I said, the first point in action, that is the first line, is where you see the green plants, which we refer to as the producer. You can see green plants here. And the primary, which now moves to the primary consumer. You can see rabbits and any other type of animal that's reside there. Then secondary consumer, from my table here, you see snake or any other animal. Then finally, the tertiary consumer, like the eagle or the hawk. That's what a trophic level looks like. Now let's talk about food chain. A food chain shows the transfer of energy and nutrients from organism to organism in a feeding pathway. It's always in a straight line. That is, from one person to another person to another person, or from one animal to another animal to another animal. Just like in the production, you have, we all know we have what we call final consumer. There's the producer, which produces the good, now come down to the retailer, from the retailer to the wholesaler, and finally to the consumer. So also it happens in an animal, which we refer to as food chain. It shows the transfer of energy and nutrient from an organism to another organism in a feeding pathway. A food chain involves at least 2 links or more organisms at the trophic level than the higher trophic level. The food energy transfer decreases from the lower to the higher trophic level. The food chain in an ecosystem can be illustrated in a form of pyramid of numbers or biomass or energy. This is a graphical representation of what a food chain looks like. From here, this is the starting point, which is the producer. And like I said earlier on, the producers are the green plants, which now goes to the primary consumer. An example of primary consumer here is the grasshopper. Then it moves to secondary consumer. We have the bluebird, which moves to the tertiary consumer. Example of the animal there is snake. Then it moves to apex producer, the whole, and finally to decomposer. everything will die and they decompose and they go back to the living organism, to the living components or living atmosphere, which is the green plants also. So it's always like that. It goes round and round like that, especially in a chain. That is why it is called a food chain. This is also another example of what a food chain looks like, from grass to grasshopper to frog, python, and finally to the eagle. You can see another one. Carrot is being eaten, the fox eats the rabbit, and finally the lion consumes the fox. And this is also another example, a corn which is eaten by rats, and rat is eaten by an owl. This is what a food chain looks like. Let's move ahead. Let's talk about what a food web is. Most animals don't just eat anything. Like human, they feed on many different food which has different nutrients and composition. They belong to more than a single simple food chain. When two or more food chains are joined together, we refer to it as food web. That is, like I said earlier on, food chain is always in a straight pathway. But when we have two or more of these pathways come together, we refer to it as food web. There's a combination, different combination of food chain. That is what a food web look like. This is an example, a diagram of how a food web look like. We can see different food chain. You can see from here to here, just like they are moving in a circular motion. They tend to move anywhere. You see the chain arising from different points, going to different points. That is what a food web look like. That is, the many occurrence of a food chain will resort to what we refer to as a food web. Let's move on. Now let's talk about energy flow. That is, how does energy flow in an ecosystem? All organisms need energy. We all know that. Both plants and animals need plants for their survival and their growth. In every ecosystem, energy is stored by the plants, which is the producer, the ultimate producer. The ultimate source of energy is from the sun. I believe I've told you that, especially when we talked about heat energy, heat transfer, and heat flow. The ultimate source of energy, as we all know, comes from the sun. The energy is used by various organisms at each stages of growth, that is metabolism. This chemical energy in form of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, and nutrient is transferred among the producers, the consumers, and finally the decomposers. Some are lost as heat through processes such as respiration and excretion. That is, some of this heat energy are lost during the process of respiration and excretion. Some is passed on to various animals, that is, the consumer, and ultimately flows back to the environment as heat energy. That is why most of the time when we walk under the sun, we feel heat at most time, because the ultimate flow of energy has been transferred back to the environment as heat. This is the pyramid of energy. This is how the pyramid of energies look like graphically. You can see the sun energy, like I said earlier on, is the ultimate sun source of life. We can see here, these are decomposers and energy loss to the environment. That is why we feel energy. And at each point, we have primary producers, we have primary consumers, secondary consumers, and the rest. It goes on like that. Pyramid of numbers. This shows the size of population at each stage. That is, at each levels, we will know the number of the particular organisms that are still there, that are still living, and that are still surviving at a particular time. The pyramid of numbers help us with that. It helps us to show the size of the population at each level. With this, I would like to tell you that we have come to the end of today's class. Remember, let's do a quick recap. I talked about the topic for today is functioning ecosystem. And I said before, an ecosystem can be functioned, it must have some components, which are the autotrophs and the heterotrophs. The autotrophs, as we all know, are the producer, that is the green plant. They are able to manufacture their own food by using sunlight. Examples include green plant, photosynthetic protists, and some bacteria. We also talked about heterotrophs. These are organisms that cannot manufacture their own food. They depend solely on whatever the autotrophs are able to manufacture, and they utilize the nutrients and chemical energy stored in their food for them to be able to carry out their own activities. Examples of such organisms include fungi, bacteria, and bacteria. We also talked about trophic level, that is the step between organisms, or it is also referred to as feeding level. We talked about the producers, the primary consumer, secondary consumer, and finally the tertiary consumer. We also talked about food chain, that is it's a chain that shows the transfer of energy and nutrients from one organism to another in a feeding pathway. Thereafter, we move to food web, which is the combination of different food chain. And also we talked about energy flow, that is how energy are being transferred from one organism or from one plant to another plant in an ecosystem. And remember, I told you the chief source of light on Earth is the sun. And we also talked about pyramid of number, which shows the size of population at each level. To read more on this topic, please go to the school website and download a comprehensive note on this topic, where you will get more facts and knowledge about functioning ecosystem. Please, after that, endeavor to attempt the assignment that follows. You can also read more on functioning ecosystem by getting our recommended text, Excellence in Biology for Senior Secondary School, Book 1 by F. Fakeye, and also Essential Biology for Senior Secondary School by MC Michael. If you have enjoyed today's class, please let's make it a date next week for yet another interesting topic. I remain yours sincerely, Ayewole Alaba Adepeju. I want to tell you that I've missed you all, and I can't wait to get you back in school. Bye, and God bless.